Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of MSATP TV. Joining me this morning is Cliff Reiter with National Accounting Sales, or National Practice Sales. I'm sorry.
Accounting is
Let's
right.
start that over.
National Accounting Sales is right. First one, you're right the first time.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of MSATP TV. Joining us this morning is Cliff Reiter with National Accounting Sales. And Cliff is going to tell us what we need to do to get our practices ready to sell them. And if you're interested in buying a practice, Cliff's the guy to talk to because he has lots of practices for sale. So Cliff, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you can do for our members?
Okay, thanks, Bill. Thanks for having me on. I've been in the brokerage business, help people buy and sell accounting practices for the last 25, 26 plus years. I'm more of a regional office where we cover from Maryland, Virginia, all the way up to Maine. We'll probably expand into some other areas. We're a seller's broker, but I will tell everybody I need buyers for these deals. And I can handle the process from listing to closing, and that's on both sides, buyer and seller. Once I get listings, for sellers, I find buyers, and if buyers tell me that they would like a practice in a certain area, let's say in Glen Burnie, Maryland, I'm on the lookout for listings for people as well. With that said, I think it's going to be a very good market in 2022, especially with what I see that I'm carrying over. These practice, there are various phases where I say I can handle it from listing to closing. You have the introduction phase where you're talking with prospective buyers and sellers. I help people negotiate letters of intent. I help them arrange financing. I can help them with due diligence. And I'm kind of a quasi attorney, though my wife would never like me to say this. I can do drafts of contracts, but like you put disclaimers on tax returns in some of your work, I'll put a disclaimer. Because if a buyer is getting bank financing and he's got legal documents, both buyer and seller should have counsel, and I advise them to have their own. And so I think for sellers to get their practices ready, I think they need to be organized. That's one of the most important things. If a buyer asks for some P&Ls or a revenue analysis of your practice, you can't wait 3 weeks to get information back to the buyer. I can understand in busy season when you have deadlines, but it creates the wrong impression. I've had to put things on Excel spreadsheets when I get them on 16-column accounting paper. The faster you can get information to people, the more they think, the more the stronger it is. They also feel that if you get all that information quickly, when we get to the due diligence process, it probably helps, because if the buyer's impression of the seller is that it's prompt, he's on top of it, he's going to think that all the numbers are on top. And lenders, there are lenders galore. You've probably all have worked with a lot of your clients with the PPP, and all those lenders are still available. The two biggest ones are SBA, obviously, and commercial conventional. Now, the one thing I want to tell you about SBA lending is that for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, interest rates have been low. They're now, if you listen to the rumblings out of the Fed, they're going to start kicking up rates. And generally, SBA loans, variable rates, and conventional lenders are fixed. They maybe have higher costs, SBA, but I'll tell people wherever you get the best loan and the best deal, that's where I tell you to go. I also have boilerplates for all these documents, LOIs. I'm available for questions. In some areas, I have reps. I used to have a Maryland rep. He's not with me anymore. In Pennsylvania, I have 2 reps, going to be 3. So we've had a lot of experience And also another thing I would advise sellers is, if you can, collect your receivables. So all those guys you've been carrying for, let's say, a couple of years, you got to try to collect that, because if it's a lot of write-up work and it's billing, the buyer doesn't want to go in and start doing work and not being able to collect for it. So I wouldn't necessarily tell your clients that you're leaving, but you got to tell them that they need to get a little tidier. Sometimes with staff is a very big consideration. Now, if somebody has staff, they're willing to stay on, it kind of makes the practice a little bit more valuable, because sometimes it's not easy to take on a couple $100,000 of work and you're at max and your staff person's at max. So while we're on the subject of staff, this isn't always easy to do. Some buyers get a little cute, but they're worried about staff leaving and taking clients. So, a lot of times I'll ask staff, do you have a non-solicitation or non-compete? And in a lot of cases they don't. It's very difficult when you've had an employee for 20 years to ask them to sign it. And so we just have to work around that. And a lot of times, one other thing is, if you have staff, one question I would always tell you when I lecture is, if your staff hasn't asked to become an owner, or they have and you haven't brought them in, that this might be the time to have that discussion. If you're partners, they might ask, is there a buy sell? What I'm able to do now is I can sell pieces of practices. So if you don't want to, don't want to retire, you can downsize. So if you have a write-up practice and you have a tax practice, and you want to work, let's say, seasonal, you can maybe look to sell your write-up practice, keep your tax, or invert it. Or if you have multiple offices, we can sell that. It helps when there are tax returns by each office, but if you're a consolidated return, I can work around that. I have lenders who work around that as well.
Okay. What kind of interest rates are we looking at in this market today, if you're interested in buying?
I'm saying the SBA is around 5.
Okay.
And I think I'm seeing conventional maybe a little bit lower. But and let's say what I alluded to before, let's say the conventional and the SBA were the same rate, but the SBA is fixed. And you go out to this time in 2023, those rates could be 100 basis points higher with each 25 point, and the SBA will be tacking that on as soon as the Fed kicks it up.
Okay.
SBA also has some fees that the conventional don't have. They have some quirky things. If you're in high real estate market areas and you have a lot of equity in your house, the SBA by law is sometimes required to take, if you have more than 20%, take a second in your home. I lost a deal in Pennsylvania where somebody was going in with a partner and had $400,000 of equity. And my SBA lender said, we want to take a second on the home, and the wife kiboshed the deal. So that's something to think about. Also, sometimes the SBA, if the purchase price is over $250, you might have to get a business valuation, but there are plenty of people that will do that.
Right.
And so, and sometimes they say it's SBA deals take longer. It's a question of who you go to. If you go to a local credit union branch and they're not an preferred SBA lender, it could take longer. But the M&Ts, the First Citizens, the Live Oaks, all the other big banks have dedicated business lenders that can do some of these deals.
Okay.
Now, if you're the buyer, let me say one thing. If you're a buyer, and you're going to a lender, make sure you know your credit. It doesn't hurt to update your personal financial statement. And just on both sides, I would say be prepared.
Okay.
And I can help you all the way through all that too.
Okay. That's important to know because I know even though we counsel our clients on a lot of these kinds of things, when it comes time for ourselves to do it, you know, uh, the old saying, an attorney
Oh,
has a
yeah,
fool for a client when he represents himself.
that's
So
right.
it's always nice to have somebody there to hold your hand and walk you through it.
Mhm. And
Uh,
I can walk you through with the lenders. There are certain things the lenders can't tell me, because of borrower banking privilege, you know,
right.
but you know what, if to tell you the truth, Bill, and the members, all banks require the same thing. They're all going to require, uh, if you're the borrower, if you have let's say you have your own practice, 3 years, business tax returns, 3 years personal tax returns. The business will ask the same thing, and they'll ask for an interim financial and banking statement. They'll ask for a personal financial statement from the buyer, from the borrower, and they'll ask for some other things.
Uh-huh. Well, that's good. And it's appreciated that you can help us walk ourselves through all of that.
Mhm.
Uh, as far as the market today, how is the market itself? I mean, is it a buyer's market or seller's market?
I still don't think it's a seller's market. Let me take a step back. In certain areas, it's a seller's market. But I find that and since I cover northern New England down to Virginia, certain parts of northern New England, where there are less practitioners, I'm seeing more sellers than buyers. But if you're in one of my better markets is Baltimore County. Montgomery County is still good. The Shore is good. Maybe go out to Western Maryland, maybe a little more suspect. Uh, and if you've got $2-3 million firms, might take a little more doing because you might need a buyer of more substance. But I think upstate New York could be a little problematic in certain spots. But in the bigger markets, it's still the practices are still getting sold now versus my time from when I started doing seminars with the MSATP. I think the multiples have come in. Where I used to get, 1.25 to 1.35, maybe even 1.4 in Baltimore County. Is there good parts of Baltimore County? It's now 1.1 to 1.2, 1.25. But I always recommend that as the membership base ages, you might be better off getting a deal with a little lower price, more cash. You have less risk, and that might be a better deal than if you're getting a higher price with a lot less money down and you have more risk.
Uh-huh.
And that actually is what I advise, though it's not to my benefit as a broker because I'm paid on the purchase price.
Okay. But it's good information to know because I was thinking that the Baltimore was probably still up in the 1.25 to 1.4 range. So it's nice to know that it's a little bit lower than that.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't think I'm seeing one. The New York, Long Island area, which in my territory is the best market in my territory and one of the best in the country. I haven't seen 1.5 in quite in a fair number of years. So it goes back down, and in terms of multiple. But if you can get a 70 to 90% down, through a finance deal, and 1.1 multiple with, even if you have to have a little bit of a true up, that's still a pretty strong deal.
yes,
You
it
know,
is.
and
Um,
even if it's a
are,
little less, go ahead.
I was going to say, are most of the buyers, are they financing it or are the sellers financing?
I'm I'm seeing a little of both. I'm seeing when I'm getting a lot of smaller deals where it's
Okay.
tougher to get bank financing, you know what I mean? Or
Uh,
the banks don't want to, you know, like where some of your membership might not want to fool around when somebody comes in with $100 tax return. They don't necessarily want to fool around with $100,000 practice, or they might not take it conventionally or the SBA. They might do it just with a business line of credit. So in some of those deals where people don't have all that excess cash, I could see more deals for 50% down, or, less, or a little more, and the seller's holding the rest in paper.
Uh-huh.
And so on some of the bigger deals, I'm trying to, you could still see 60, 70% down, but the loan could be $200,000-300,000. And I have all the lenders in the world who want to do those kinds of deals, especially if there's a strong buyer and a practice with strong cash flow.
Okay. Very good. Is there anything else that we should know about when looking to buy or sell?
The only thing is, you can do strategic acquisitions. If you, for example, if you have one office and, you're looking to expand, sometimes you might have, depending upon how aggressive you want to be, you might have to look at a second office. The Zoom, the pandemic has changed it a little, where a lot of people are working remotely, clients are dropping off. We might go back to something a little different, maybe a little more client interaction. And so you might want to give thought to having a second office or a Regis or some kind of part-time office, and gradually work people to going remote.
Uh-huh. So is remote the future, or do you think still the face-to-face is?
Well, I'm a baby boomer. I like the face-to-face, but you know what?
Right.
I haven't been to a lot of seminars for a lot of reasons. COVID, I have a little bit of a hip, so 4 hours in the car is a problem. And, the shows have been cut back or canceled. But I would say, I think it was starting to go that way before the pandemic. Not everybody was, a lot of people want to come in. I would say that people are more my generation, more baby boomers. They want to come in, talk to their preparer, CPA, EA, whatever it is. But I think the younger generation just wants to go onto a web portal and send it. I'll mail you a check. Just tell me what, do the return. I'll sign it. I'll pay it. So that I think it's going to be a combination of both.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a combination of both.
Okay.
But I think in 10 years, it'll be much more web portal.
Okay.
Because our generation will be not doing this anymore. We'll be in retirement, or, some of us will be gone or whatever. But I think that's the trend. And, and COVID has helped.
Right. So anything else you want to tell us?
No, I've been this a long time. I've been a corporate sponsor for a long time, and I get referrals from the MSATP, and I'll be glad to help membership, and I'll be glad to help other people who are not members. And if they are not members, I'll actually try to introduce them to you, Bill. Maybe they'll become members. So
okay.
We'll see. We'll see.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. And you have a great day, and thanks for joining us today. And it's a lot of good information about buying or selling your practice.
Okay.
So I wish you luck.
Okay. Very good, Bill. And have a good season. Take care. Thanks
you
for
too.
having me.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.